Hey there, Outliers. Niiamah Sean here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here. Welcome to an Outliers Edge roundtable where we're spending our time continuously finding out how people are creating their worlds and stepping into the ways that they uplift themselves and others as they're leading into the future. And so I haven't said it that way before, but it feels really good. It feels really feels true, right? It feels true. And so I'd love for you to get to know the outliers that we have for today's conversation here. Mickey, why don't we start with you? Would you mind sharing more about you and the game that you're currently playing?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Mickey Horvath, and I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I'm a podcaster right now. I do a podcast called The Career Guy. And the essence of this podcast is where I interview people and get them to share their stories about their career. It's twofold. One part is definitely technical. I try to get into the technical aspects of what a certain career will look like. So what does an engineer look like? What kind of school did they have to go to? What does their average day look like? And what can you do as an engineer? That's just one example of that. But the big part of it is more motivational. I've interviewed entrepreneurs, business owners. I've interviewed people who've done some really remarkable things. And it's the stories are more to the listener to say that they can do whatever they want. It's motivational that you don't have to be rich and famous, or you don't have to be famous to do remarkable things. You can be just the average person doing some pretty remarkable things. So it's just to motivate people. So that's essentially who I am and what I do right now.
That's awesome, Mickey, and thanks for living that, right? You're like, look, I'm just a person doing a remarkable thing through this podcast and beyond, right? So like the proof is in the pudding. I appreciate you for that, Mickey.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah. Helga, let's get a chance to get to know you. Would you mind sharing more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Absolutely, Niiamah. I'm Helge. I'm Swedish. I'm living in Switzerland. I'm actually thinking that since the world keep messing up Sweden and Switzerland and always mixing them up, why not make the best of it? I spent 18 years in the Swedish Army, then switched to the private sector. Today, I'm working in HR, but my side hustle is that I coach clients where the inner dialogue is really hurting them, like people pleasing or imposter syndrome. And together, we will find ways to turn this harsh inner critic into a supporter, a pep talker. And that is really my why, because the satisfaction of seeing somebody develop into what they were actually meant to be might need a lot of effort, but not necessarily that much of time. That is really what I'm here to do. Uh, I have a podcast together with a friend, actually in Canada, the Unstuck podcast, where we touch on these subjects and a lot of other topics as well. So that's a bit about me, except for my crazy hobbies, which are clearly outliers. I will maybe get back to them later.
Oh, now, well, you can't just like drop it like a little teaser like that, and then we don't know. So share with us some of your hobbies.
I will maybe pull three out then. One is trail running. And basically, for me, trail running, that is running the whole day, having a goal, but ultimately, I will know that I will get lost on the middle. I will not know where I am. And that's basically what I'm aiming at. Because then I know that I'm absolutely not where I was intending to go. I have no clue where to be, but I know that I will end up close to the goal. That's the best feeling in outdoors and sports and as a hobby, as a distraction from daily life. So trail running, that's one. Another one is that I tailor my own clothes, and I do that preferably on treadle machines that are more than 100 years old, because those machines, they were meant to last 200 years, which today's machines are not. And there's a satisfaction in that as well, using something that is way older than a human being can be, knowing that I will be able to pass it down to my grandchildren if they would be interested. And then I'm also professional scythe mover. A swing blade or scythe. Instead of a lawnmower with an engine, I can actually mow your lawn with a scythe instead.
And like that guy's like it's kind of like it's like a long pole with a hook at the end, like a
Yep,
hook like claw.
yep.
Yeah. Did not like I love how you're like I didn't know you could be professional about that, you know? Like so I love that. Um okay. So this is fun. I might have to ask more people about their hobbies and stuff like this because we have this thing called Outliers Edge, and I really believe that anyone can be an outlier. It's a made up term, you know. I like, and the real key of it here is like you do something different than others. Like you like I like these three components that you just brought together. You're like, these are just three of the many different things that I do that's different. Like I love it. I love it. I sang in a barbershop chorus for several years, you know, and four-part harmony. Like very few people did that, but it was something that helped develop me overall. And so I want to come in, I want to play with that. Um, actually, why don't we do this? Vicky, we don't know some of your hobbies. I'd love to find out more about this here. Let's have our first question here being a bridging question because I think a lot of us a lot of allies listen to this and they're like, okay, like in order to create my impact in the world, I must go from being all of me to getting this component of me, right? And so since hobbies have come into the conversation, I have not yet to have bring that in. I'd love to see. We'll start with you, Helga, and then we'll go to you, Mickey. How do you leverage like the things that you do in hobbies to help you actually create more impact out through your business and the world and the things that you do?
One thing is really clear, and that is storytelling. If you do outlier things, crazy things, things where people are actually telling you you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, then you know that okay, that's probably the right direction. Use that in your storytelling to show people that it's okay to be unique, it's okay to stand out. Uh, I'm actually more scared of not being noticed, standing in the corner, and there is so many people that would benefit from not being afraid of showing who they are. So if you use crazy things that are actually not that crazy in my logic, in your storytelling, you're actually helping people in only by doing that.
That's running through. Mickey, what you got? Tell us about a hobby you got and let us know about how you bring it to get to life.
So one of my hobbies, I work out a lot. I stretch and work out first thing in the morning. So I stretch for a good solid hour, then probably work out with weights or go running or swimming for another solid hour. So what that enables me to do is just think. I let my mind just sort of wander, and that's where I come up with my best ideas for the day. Usually, that's where it comes from. So it 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 just it enables me to see the world in a different way. How about that?
I love this year. There's seeing the world in a different way, being able to get these kind of perspectives, and then choosing. You said if you do outlier things, you get these different stories. I love it. I love it here. Hugga, like there's something you brought in when you talked about the trail running that I want to actually step into because I think it'd be helpful for us as trailblazers looking at this, right? So I'm like, oh, well, as trailblazers, we likely might run on trails, and I actually think that you talked about I wrote down here like the goal is to get lost. You know,
Yeah.
a good trail run, the goal to get lost. And I think that I'd love for us to bring that in within the context of what we are building, because I think that there's it's a perspective that I often don't see coming up in business or like in building. Like I think about outliers, you're like, well, I don't know what the next step is, or what do I do if this happens? Or, well, I can't see everything through, so I don't know if I should be taking action on this. And so with the theme of the goal is to get lost, I'm really curious about how you all have implemented that or embraced that within the work that you're doing right now. Maybe you can take us to a time or a story where that became real for you.
But it's actually exactly the same, I would say, in business, because the vision might be crystal clear, your goals might be clear, but there is no way that the road is going to be straight. There will be things that is going to impact your journey. I mean, you will have competition for one thing. Things will happen, so you will probably get lost. So start accepting that will happening. Start accepting that is actually what you want, because that's when you learn. And if you can do that, if you can enjoy getting lost, enjoy being lost, knowing that you will ultimately reach your vision in some way or another, you are actually setting yourself up as an outlier, as somebody that is doing something that maybe most people would not do, because they would be exactly where you said, what's my next step? I don't know next step, so I'm staying here. I'm staying put. I think that's one thing that can actually set you out positively for what you're trying to achieve. In my own life, I mean, I have done different things. I've done logistics. I've been a unit manager. I was in the Swedish Army. Never did I have a vision of what am I going to do in 15 years. That is developing as I get lost.
I just want to add to that. So I used to work in academics. I used to work at the University of Calgary for a long time. And when you put up saying get lost, I think a lot of us, in my opinion, when people get lost, they get scary because we want concrete answers right away. And we panic when we can't find them. So I wrote a blog about this actually a couple of years ago, and it deals with when we can't find a solution to something. The idea is just to take a break and just go do something else totally different. And that's why I mentioned at the very beginning of this, when I work out, it's doing something different. And when you're doing something different, your brain actually is in relax mode, for a lack of better words. And when you're doing something different and your brain's in relax mode, that's when you could come up with those aha moments. And to me, that's the key thing. And that's why I think it's a good idea. I think for a lot of people to, or even myself, is to explore all our avenues. All of us have a lot of interest. All of us have many layers to us or many sides to us, and to not be afraid to explore those. And you'll never know what you might discover. But again, when you try something different, when you're trying to force yourself to figure out a problem, it never works. It's when you step aside and you're doing something completely different. That's when like I said a couple of minutes ago, that's when you have your aha moment.
Yeah, it's kind of fun for me here, where it's like almost like in one area it's like getting lost is the goal, and the other one is like it's like uh getting off track is the goal, right? Because it's like in both ways, it's like it's taking you to a place of discovering something new. And then Helga, I want to make sure I'm not missing some component, because you said it every time, and I think it's like they feel like they're actually connected, which is the goal is not just to get lost for the sake of being lost. Like for me, I like to get lost sometimes because I like exploration, and I'm like, ooh, but I might pull out like my phone at some point and be like, okay, let me get back to the main road. It's that way. What I felt like I was getting from you was like, you enjoy getting lost because it also reinforces an inner knowing that no matter what happens, you can find your way forward. Can we make sure that like I don't want to miss it. You brought it up twice, and I don't want to miss out that part. I think that it's important.
Yeah, it is the feeling of being content in the situation where you actually don't know exactly where you are, but you trust yourself in knowing that you will find the way. And I would, uh, I would absolutely not take up my phone. I would actually, if I'm running, I will not take up my phone and try to find a map. I would do that in a city, but on a trail, no. I will try to find my way just with what I know from the land, the lay of the land, the road and the directions where the sun is. That would be my way of challenging myself, and also proving to myself that, yeah, I still have it. I can still be happy in the moment and keep running, keep on the trail, and let's see what happens.
So, Outliers, I'm going to invite you right now to like look at your life right now and see it like as a trail that you're running. Right, we're blazing new trails, but we're also running this trail here. And like, I want to invite you to just see what would change for you if you adopted that kind of mindset right now, and looked at it and see if there's any place where you're feeling lost or stuck or not sure where to go, and you actually gave yourself a chance to sit down and explore the tools that you do have. For me, it's my phone. But for Helga, it's like which way is the moss growing? Like I love these components because we have all these tools available to us, and yeah, this is actually really important to me right now because at the time of recording this, I've been describing to people I feel like I'm in the middle of an ultra marathon, and but I'm used to only running 5Ks, so I'm used to starting something and then getting the accolades and all the claps and being done with it all, completing it all within 20 minutes or so, or the equivalent of that. And now I'm on mile 34 of a 50-mile thing, and and my legs are burning, and I just don't know like when this is gonna end and how and there's no one there like cheering me on along the way. So I'm curious for you all here, like in the spirit of navigating and continuing to grow, like how what's something that's come on for you that's like maybe a big project that you're taking on, or something like a larger undertaking, or even just something that like you're working towards from an impact perspective, where you're just like you're in the middle of it very much so, and how are you navigating and keeping yourself like moving forward without actually getting to the getting the benefits of having it all done yet.
For me, I think it would be my podcast. Every time somebody reaches out to me or I reach out to somebody that I want to interview, it's a new adventure. It's a new story. It's a new way of looking at what that person did, especially when that person reaches out to me. And I'm flattered all the time. I'm actually really humbled that somebody found my podcast and going, well, look, I've got a story I want to share with you. And I do the preliminary interview with them, and I'm talking to them about their life and how they put things together. And it's just fun. I think it's just another story that I get to collect. So for me, that's huge for me as it is right now.
For me, I would actually divide it into two parts. One is my day job. I'm doing HR in a country where I didn't grow up, in my second language, being German. Uh, and that's a huge challenge, to try to learn and understand a lot of things that doesn't come really natural. That is a road, a trail of exploration. And the other one, in my coaching, that would be every new coachee, being a part of their journey, their trail, discovering more, and actually also there, accepting not knowing and accepting. Uh, well, let's see where we end up.
This is kind of fun. It's so I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all. Like, um, let's take this here. I want to know about some of the projects that you all are doing. Some of the things that like you're taking on right now. That is, uh, I usually call ask this as like what's giving you sweaty palms. Sweaty palms being like it's a project that feels epic enough that you're both scared and excited to get it done. But honestly, today, the way I want to ask this question is like, what's something that like that you're taking on that just like feels ridiculous, like that most other people wouldn't like really even get it at all, and probably like it's ridiculous to you too, but you're like, this is where I'm heading, this this is where I'm going some way shape or form. Recently for me it was like the ridiculousness in my life of like reaching out. I was sending out like 400 emails a day to get people to come on the podcast, especially when I was first starting out. And then I said, I'll do a podcast panel and I have 6 people in it. And then I'll give everyone a complimentary coaching session. I have 4 people with that too. And like now it's my life. Like I've changed and calibrated different things like around it. But like it was like a ridiculous idea at the moment. I'm curious about what y'all are building right now that most others would consider ridiculous, but you're just like, it's happening. Like this is where we're going. Any of you feel called to answer that?
Sure. Okay, go. Who wants to
You
go
go-
first?
why don't you just go, Mickey, since you're the first one in here? You'll find with me, like I like to give space in here. Like y'all can ask each other questions. Like we're fine. We're just gonna have this conversation overall. So you want to get us started on this one, Mickey?
Sure. So for me, it was a guest, one of my past guests. Actually, I interviewed her at the beginning of January, the beginning of this year, and she was a career coach. And she kind of just threw the idea out at me that when we collaborated, do something together. So I said, sure, okay, what would you like to do? So we met a couple of times over Zoom. She lives in Ontario, Canada, so she's a ways away from me. But we brainstormed, and then we came up with the idea of maybe putting a well, not maybe we are in the process of putting a workshop together to help people figure out their careers. And she's an HR person. She came from all the way from Jamaica. She's a geologist. She has a geology background just like I do. But she, as I mentioned, she's got an HR background. My background is more in academics. So I worked with a lot of people from all over the world. A lot of grad students is what I worked with, a lot of scientists. So that in combination with my podcast, I have a different perspective on things altogether than her. She's very technical as far as HR is concerned. And I'm more very, let's say, just on the right hand side of things, or the right lobe things. I'm kind of more of the illogical thinker, but more of the touchy feeling person. So it's giving me it's going to be an interesting journey. Let's just put it that way. How's that?
Vicky, it was. Uh, I heard your last question. I'm purposely not answering how it was, because I'm grateful that you said you brought whatever you brought in. Right. Uh, Helga, how about you? Like, what you got on this one?
The question is hard for me to answer because what's actually ridiculous?
Mm.
That's a border that tells you that okay, if it's ridiculous, then most people are not going to do that. And the only thing an entrepreneur can do is something that other people have not yet done. So if people are telling you that's ridiculous, yeah, then I'm doing it. I'm doing more of that. If you're doing mainstream, then you will be stuck where everybody else is. Getting exactly what they are getting. And that's also fine if that is what you want. But the discovery, the trailblazing, that's where people are telling you that it's ridiculous. But when you have pushed those boundaries long enough, it's hard to distinguish what in my life would be ridiculous to others, what projects, probably most of them, probably most of my ideas would be far out. Like even trying to get a website seen today, search engine optimization and all that, that's totally ridiculous. It's almost impossible. So yeah, you need to try the best you can, but it's close to impossible.
I just want to add to that because when you said entrepreneurs and it's ridiculous, I interviewed somebody last week and they're in retail, they sell audio, but what the conversation went, and we got into a really good discussion about the music industry. And well, first of all, let me just say this: as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, and people starting businesses, I think entrepreneurs see problems and they want to fix a problem. They see opportunities to see and to fix that problem. And to fix that problem, yeah, let me just rephrase that: to see opportunities with that. Is it ridiculous? I don't know. I don't think it's ridiculous. I think it's just you see an opportunity and you have that mindset, that business mindset, which is different than the consumer mindset. Because to me, the consumer mindset is we're told to And most of us have that consumer mindset where we're told to see things at face value, just whatever we see in front of us. I think an entrepreneur develops that business mindset and they can see beyond what's in front of them, and they can see maybe issues or problems that need to be solved. And it's not so much ridiculous. I think it's just looking at things differently is what it is.
Maybe building on that a bit, I think also you need in that mindset also accept failure. Because if you're trying to solve problems that are not solved yet, or maybe nobody has ever solved this problem before, and that is where you are trying to make it or build a business, you're probably not going to get it right first time on your first try. Because if it was ever that easy, probably a lot of people would have done it before you. So you will probably fail a lot during trying, and accepting that is part of the necessary mindset, at least to me.
I think to some degree, I think that you have to accept failure, but I think at the same time though too, I think it's based on experience. I think when you get yourself involved in a certain industry and you are in an industry for a number of years, I I think it's just seeing things from a different perspective, and then you can base it on your experience. And I, I I'm just basing it on what I've heard from people that I've interviewed, and some of them, or the majority, they may say they're not doing things on faith, but they had a gut feeling. They had that inner voice talking to them saying, I got a feeling if I do it this way, something's going to work out. Something will work. And it's just, again, that business mindset, that mindset of just saying, okay, well, it's not being silly. It's not being stupid. It's not taking unnecessary risks. It's just you're just using your experience and your knowledge, and you're using well-educated, well thought out risks to solve that problem.
So I hear this and I'm like, y'all are both saying the same things, included like running into the middle of the trail and getting lost, and then like relying on your like how do you relying on the tools you have to get you out of there. Um, so Helga, you were just talking about like failure and expecting failure and being able to like be good with failure and be able to like because like hey look, if you've chosen to do something that hasn't been done, probably the reason it hasn't been done is because it's hard and people don't know how to do it yet. So like expect that to come along with you. Then Vicky, you came on the other side and you're like, yeah, I think it really comes down to experience. And the experience is like, oh yeah, the experiences of all the other failures, all like, and even like you work in like all of us we've had experience in corporate in some way, shape, or form, right? So whether we're talking to people about their careers or we're working in HR. I used to be in I was a retirement actuarial consultant, and then I did learning and development and people experience, employee experience. So I love this world. Um, the thing that comes to me is I'm like, one of the nice things about organizations is that the failures keep compounding in terms of, but they're able to be passed down from one person to the next. At least the lessons. Let me say that it's not the failures; it's the lessons of the failures keep compounded. Where they're like, "Hey, someone started out this organization. We had to figure this out. We now have figured this out, and now we're going to train you in. And our training, while it might seem like we're telling you exactly what to do, we're also telling you what not to do because of the things that we had learned from our failures back there. So I love this conversation around like the experience and failures because I'm like, uh, to me, like they go hand in hand and sometimes like they are not they're two sides of the same coin. I'm curious what y'all think about that, what y'all get from that. But it's been important to me as I go on. I listen. I'm like, where are the nuance that like I think I'm hearing something, and then when I play it out in my life, I'm like, well, I need more experience, but I can't get experience because if I get experience, I'll fail, and if I fail, then that must not be good experience, and so on and so forth. So curious what y'all think about this.
But phrasing it like this, if you ever have the opportunity to build your own organization or shape the organization where you're in, are you able to make it a learning organization? An organization, an entity that actually expands the knowledge every time? Or are you just building on experience that already there and passing that down? That's good, that's not bad. But if you also create learning and a desire in the complete organization to learn and expand knowledge, then that's something to me.
I want to put a different twist on this because history tends to repeat itself. So it was last year I interviewed a CEO. I mean, the company right now has about 350, 400 employees. So, and he said this, I mean, he's been with this company since they've had 12 employees. So he grew the company. I mean, he eventually moved up into the point where he was an administrator and he just climbed the corporate ladder and he became CEO. He said in the last 5 years, that's the last 5 years has really been remarkable for the business. It's doubled its size. So 5 years ago, they had maybe about 150, 160 employees. It's only been in the last 5 years that they've climbed over 300, like I mentioned, about 350, 360, close to 400 perhaps. But he said this, and he says, as a CEO, so he had to learn a couple of things or a bunch of things. And one of them was okay, you can't micromanage. As a CEO, he has to look at the big, broad picture of the company and how it's working. And he says that's what frustrates him the most because he said 10 years ago when I was on the lower end of the business, he says, I saw us making mistakes or I was involved with making mistakes. But now he's at the top as CEO and he sees all these new people in there. He says the company's still making the same mistakes. So when you say learning, a learning environment, I don't know. I can speak more to what I'm talking about because I've worked in enough places to say I've seen businesses where they make the same mistakes over and over. And it's different people and it's 10, 15 years after the fact. Why is that happening? I just want to throw that back out there.
But I would actually twist it a bit. The purpose is never to make the same mistake. The purpose is to build an organization, build a culture where people want to do new mistakes. And then if you can create that kind of honesty that to tell, I will tell you I made a mistake in order for you not to make that one, but you can go out there and find a new mistake, something that has not been tried before. If you can create that kind of culture in a small team or in a big team or even as a CEO, then I think you're set up for success.
Well, y'all are getting me like excited here as we're having this conversation. Um, the Helga, what's coming from you when you're saying this? You said build a culture where people want to build new mistakes, right? I thought that was really really fun, and like so, some of the outliers that listen to this, they're solopreneurs. Some of them are leading other teams. Some of them are entrepreneurs and CEOs as well. And so part of what I'm hearing is like it's like the culture is just a big leverage of it, and it's like a culture of like, are we a culture where we embrace mistakes but embrace new mistakes as opposed to embracing the same one over and over and over again, and really leaning into that. I think Mickey, to kind of like the question that you had there, I wonder how much of it is based in culture, where it's like if the I spent a couple of years in Singapore, and one of the things that I found there was like there were organizations I was talking to, and they were rewarded more for not making a mistake than they were for like finding out the next thing that would move them forward. And so they kept passing in what felt like true, what felt like safe, what felt like what they had heard without questioning, because then if I just followed the process, then I can't get in trouble because I've done the process there. And so you're getting me to think around here around what it actually takes to go and build out like an environment where like mistakes are not, it's not the mistakes for the sake of mistakes, but it's the ongoing sharing and I was actually seeing celebration, coming together at recorder and be like, hey, this is what I learned. This is what didn't work. This is what that happened. This is what I learned, and continuing to build that kind of community of practice. We'd love to get your final thoughts on this, and then we're going to wrap up for today here. Helga, Mickey, anything that's playing out for you?
Yeah, on my day job, I actually work in an organization that celebrates mistakes. So we are actually handing out a prize for the biggest mistake in the country or in globally. And I actually won that prize for the biggest global mistake being done in 2023.
All right, I gotta ask, how did that feel to win that? Like on one side, it feels really cool, and on the other side is maybe winning the award and doing the mistake might feel two may have two totally separate feelings in it.
Living through the mistake because it was an expensive one. That was not fun at all. Sharing it in order to make people understand that don't do this one, make a new mistake, but don't repeat my mistake. That was rewarding as anything. And then accepting the prize, being celebrated for this, I need to do that just to show that it's okay. I need to be there and try to be a role model and not be ashamed, because that was what we are trying to do. We are trying to celebrate mistake. Then somebody has to lead. Somebody has to show that yes, it's not only on paper. We are doing it.
I appreciate you. Thank you for that, Helga.
I think a mistake, or I look at it as lessons learned. It's something that we learn, and it's a matter of perspective. Because if it's the same scenario, same situation, and you keep doing the same thing over, and things aren't working out, then okay, you can call that a mistake. But if it's a different situation, then maybe the outcome might be a little bit different. So I think it's lessons learned and how you can apply things.
I love it. I love it. Y'all are fantastic. I appreciate y'all for this conversation. This is like the way that we just things that are flying out for me here, and this component of living in the unknown, but also like I guess the way I would say is like I think you've tossed a lot of the conventional wisdom on its head, which is exactly what outliers do, right? It's like go get lost, like go look out there and make sure like you are celebrated mistakes. Outliers, like whether you lead a team of 10, you have a company of hundreds, or you're the one and only person in your business, like what are you doing to create that culture of celebrating new mistakes? What are you doing in there? And like, I'm so glad we talked about but like living with the mistake is painful. Like, let's be real. We're not glorifying the mistakes for that purpose, but that distinction of learning and sharing and something that recently came to me where it's like a lot of the things that we do when it comes to education, coaching, sharing on our podcast, what we're doing is that we're giving people time, we're sharing experiences, right, and being able to shortcut the amount of time that they will take to be able to get to a given result. And so you're making me think right now around, like, I'm looking at my arms right now. I'm like, there's far too little scars recently. It might be time to go and make some bigger moves and find out some more things that don't work, so I have a better chance of figuring out what does work. And I appreciate you both for putting me in that mindset. We're gonna wrap up the conversation here, and the way I want to do this here is first make an ask of you outliers. Like, we grow this podcast through word of mouth only. We don't put any, like, we don't run ads or anything like that. And it would be really, really beneficial if you can go and share this out with your world, so that they can get a chance to find out more about the podcast, especially if you found something really useful for it. And then I also want you to think about one person in your life who you think would specifically benefit from this. Someone who has stopped themselves from running out in the woods. Someone else who has said, hasn't given himself the chance to start that podcast and to start like meeting people. Like, just think about someone in your world who would specifically benefit from this conversation. And my ask is that you join us in a one person, one conversation at a time initiative and share this episode with them directly as a gift. I have a feeling that like there's something in here where the real impact of all of our conversations are going to come through just like the right person hearing this message through the intentional sharing of the gift. Right? Thank you, Outliers, for doing that here. Mickey, Helga, we're going to wrap up our conversation. The way I like to do this is that I like to bring us in by sharing your best contact information. A lot of us have multiple platforms, so there's many different ways to find us. My ask is that you share like your one or two best ways for people to do that.
Go to
And
my
then,
website. Yeah,
uh, so,
basically
so-
just the website, www.thecareerguy.ca, and my contact information is right on there.
Perfect. Now, part two of it, Mickey, since is that I like to end each conversation with each of our esteemed guests sharing an insight that you got from the conversation. So this is not for Outliers. It's not like a takeaway or a quip for them. It's like, how did Mickey change? How did Helga change as a result of this conversation? And if you're not taking anything away from it, that's fine too. You can just say that. But in what ways has this conversation been beneficial for you, Mickey?
Mistakes. It was a good topic. It was a good topic about mistakes. I learned a different perspective about it, and yeah, that was definitely enlightening. Just talking about mistakes. I think that was helpful, knowing that we can do them. It should be encouraged, and but at the same time, as you put it, it's painful. Mistakes hurt, so it's not that we should be afraid of them, but learn from them.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Mickey. Thank you for that. Helga, how about you? Would let us know your best contact, the best way for us to contact you, and then share with us an insight you got from today's conversation.
Contact, that would either be through LinkedIn. There are not that many Helge Nilsson. It's easy to find me in that way. Or my website, unstuck-leadership.com. You will find me on there. And the conversation, being able to share the topics where I have so much passion and being able to sharpen my argument against yours, that is always enlightening. It shapes my tools, my arguments in a way each time. And this one was really one of those big, because Mickey thinks in a different way than me, but still we can enjoy a conversation. Really, it was a blast. Thank you.
Thank you all. And Outliers, I want to also thank you. It's my deepest gratitude that you spend your time here with us. My ask is this: until the next time we talk, go out there and be you on purpose. All right, journey on. All right.